MeMonster.
Chapter 1. 100 million. On a desk laid a banknote. It was my severance pay and life insurance. 100 million. It was ridiculous. It was better to die of cancer than to be given this amount. The guild master would like to express his regret over your retirement. That's it. Why didn't he put in a little more money then? I am sorry, but that's not my jurisdiction. But I knew. I am only worth 100 million won to them. A veteran hunter who had survived for 15 years fighting monsters on the front line. But without superpowers, I was at best a F-rank hunter whose position in the guild was about the same as a disposable chopstick used a little longer. 3 years after my debut as a hunter, I joined the guild and was with them for 12 years since its establishment to its current position, but now I can see that all of it was only worth 100 million. I understand. I worked harder than anyone else, but the world wants a person of value rather than just a hard worker. Since I was just a chopstick without value, I guess it was a proper end for a chopstick. Even now, I had never seen this woman before who came to hand over 100 million won. It's like a servant of a servant. Well, this is better for me. Then I hope you live well for the rest of your life. Looking at the back of the receding woman, I leaned my back against the bed in the hospital room. Haha, damn it. An incurable illness. There's something strange in my heart that can't be seen, and doctors don't know what it is either. I was quite calm when the doctor told me my chance of living past this year was slim. 15 years. I am the longest F-rank hunter, right? Considering that the average activity time of incompetent hunters were about 1 to 2 years, I've lived longer than expected. As such, hunters who did not know when they would die had a hard time qualifying for insurance. And if they did die, the insurance money would go to their family. But I don't have a family. That's why the life insurance money came to me, who's about to die. There's no one to complain to, so 100 million is 100 million. The families of F-rank hunters who either died or retired in the past had received at least a few billion. Should I have died a little sooner? Breaking news: the death of the 109th A-rank hunter Yu Ji-won of Korea. News of the death of an A-rank hunter, which was reported a few days ago, is still flashing on TV. I heard that hundreds of billions of dollars went to Yu Ji-won's family. If he dies, 100 million or 100 billion won would go nowhere anyways, but he couldn't help but feel bad. I've lived for a long time. That's what he thought. Fuck. I couldn't even shed a tear in this terrible situation. I wouldn't have felt this way if my body was left for dead on the battlefield to a monster. It wasn't because of honor, but the idea that I'd rather die to a monster than this miserable death dominated my head. I wanted to complain. I wanted to run to the guild master right away and ask him if he was just going to throw me to the wayside like this. However, I knew the guild master of Lost Day was cold-blooded and would probably keep quiet until I died and then sort things out. My time is limited today and tomorrow. But even if there was no time limit, a regular hunter alone couldn't fight against a big company. I leaned my head on the bed and sighed. 100 million, first time I've come across this amount of money. I am going to buy something delicious tomorrow. The procedure to discharge was not difficult. Take a lot of painkillers, press the button on the bracelet if you're sick, and if you die, the sensor will react and the hospital will take care of the rest. As the world changed due to the appearance of monsters 30 years ago, it was not uncommon to discharge patients who were dying like me. There were not enough rooms in the hospital, and no one could stop a hunter who was on the verge of death from quietly ending their life outside the hospital. 30 years later, everything has changed, but the system of that time still remained. A 5-story old villa. I live in a collapsed building built more than 50 years ago. If there's one problem, it's that there is no elevator. Damn it. Half a year ago, something unknown began to constrict me, and I couldn't do anything intensive. A little rough activity would shock me and cause me to faint. I was living with a bomb in my heart. In other words, in a 5-story villa, I would have to rest dozens of times on the stairs to get to my home on the 4th floor. Now even spending money properly is difficult because of my physical health. However, I am stuck at home, so I am going to eat a lot of delivery food I've never tried. Originally, my last supper would not be that luxurious. Ring ring. I barely got home and was resting my head against the couch when my smartphone rang. Ryujinsu. See, Autumn, I heard you were discharged. Taylor 9. What really? Ryujinsu. Why didn't you call me? How did he know? The group chat room, which has a total of 7 people, is a kind of pledge that we all made 15 years ago to walk the path of hunters. We all debuted at the same time, but now that a long time has passed, everyone is on a different path. Some became world-class superstars, some became S-rank hunters, and others became masters of a great guild. On the other hand, I was still just a hunter at the bottom of F-rank as everyone surpassed me. I didn't like this group chat very much and was in a terrible mood. I thought about asking for help, but it's probably impossible. I haven't been in touch with them for a long time, but wondered if they could shake lost day. Originally, I rarely chatted here, but I thought I'd say at least one word since it'll be the last time, so I pressed reply. You see, Autumn. They say there's no problem. Taylor 9. You should have told me that first, you punk. I am free, so I'll come visit you in Korea since I haven't gone there in a long time. Leave the door open. I laughed as I vaguely recalled her beautiful silvery short hair. I told them the news of my discharge, but I've always been reluctant to reveal my heart, so very few people knew. Still, the last consolation was that many of my old colleagues and hunters who somehow heard the news visited and contacted me again. Soon there was a pile of flowers and gifts in the hospital room when I went back to pack my things. The relationships that I made over the years weren't in vain. I should go through all of this. Though I am just a supporting character and not a tragic hero who dies with an incurable disease. After throwing my phone away, I checked the mail that came while I was away. Most of them were monthly rentals, water bills, smartphone charges, and game settlements, but there were a few things that stood out. Hunters Association invitation, what's this? What the hell to a F-rank hunter like me? It was a reasonable thought when I read the title of the mail. They have invited various veteran hunters with at least 10 years of experience to discuss the hunter industry. It was extremely rare for hunters to survive for more than 10 years. Honestly, if you exclude me, you could count on one hand how many there are. I don't have any fond memories of this place. I can't even go anyway. An incompetent hunter who has survived for more than 10 years is about to die. Leaving it folded and checking the remaining mails, I saw a white envelope among the most recent ones. It was made of a very unusual material. I wonder if I've ever touched this kind of soft paper in my life. Is it a new material? There was no sender attached. It is just a plain letter with the words to, "You see Autumn" beautifully written. I slowly opened the envelope and found a sheet of paper inside. An odd sentence appeared. Do you want life? At this time, I must have been possessed. I thought I was going crazy. Otherwise, how could it suddenly appear? Nodding my head to the strange sentence that suddenly appeared. The words faded and I saw another sentence. Do you want to continue living? The words faded again. If you could live a long life, would you like to live a better life than now? Aren't you tired of a life without talent, ability, strength, money, or lifespan? So what am I supposed to do? The words faded again. If you could hunt with your own hands the heroes who made you enter the path of a loser and take their talent, would you do it? Take from someone else and make it mine. It was a logic that might have only been used in the Law of the Jungle era, but somehow I smiled and nodded in a dejected way. Of course I would. Am I in a position to compromise? Yes. A translucent hologram appeared before my eyes. Your remaining life, 10 days, 21 hours, 39 minutes, 23 seconds. It was none other than my remaining life. The hologram showed that I had at least 10 days left to live. Only. If so, sign the contract. The contract is for you to hunt protagonists. Really, before giving it much doubt. My body is dying in the first place. He was never a superstitious person, but unconsciously he wanted to grasp on this last strand of hope. For that reason, there's no one who wouldn't agree here. The contract has been signed. Chapter 2. Was I going crazy? In the midst of that thought, the remaining life was constantly decreasing. What do I need to do? As I asked the question out loud like a madman, the translucent hologram changed, and answers came back. Hunting like you've been doing all this time. But now hunt the protagonists. If you succeed, you will be given lifespan in return. You can also absorb the talent of the protagonists you've hunted. Fuck, what the hell do you mean by protagonist? Isn't that a common word in your world? It's the main characters that appears in novels, movies, dramas, cartoons, and more. Those who are never defeated, those who stand up no matter what in the face of danger, and those who are favored by the whole world. I've seen many of them in real life. You want me to kill them? Impossible. Even if you just turn on the TV right now, there are many people like that. They've never failed in their life. Take my job for example. Wouldn't the SS rank hunter at the apex be considered a protagonist? How am I supposed to deal with the SS rank hunter? It's not limited to your world. Protagonists exist in many worlds and many dimensions. Oh, my heart is pounding. I knew I shouldn't do this, but I was strangely excited. Okay, when should I start? You can start right now. But there's just one problem. You know I am in a terrible condition, right? My body is not in a condition to do extensive activities. A stupid body that will have a heart attack if I even run a little bit. This problem can be solved using your lifespan. 10 days lifespan can be used to temporarily stop the heart condition for a 1 day. Shit. My hands tremble. If I use 10 days, I will have 21 hours left. Am I just going to live for another 10 days, or will I gamble for a better life? It was not a choice. Yes, I will do it. 10-day lifespan used to temporarily suppress heart condition. Soon after, my chest felt like something was missing. A round blue mark was carved into the pit of his stomach. After a while, a heartrending comfort surged within me. Although I haven't partied in a long time, I felt refreshed, as if I had gone back to my youth. All right, let's get ready, but before that, can I bring stuff with me? 20 kg is the limit you can take with you. 20 kg so stingy. How did a weak hunter like me work on the front line? It was possible due to the state-of-the-art equipment. A leather armor coated with ether, and a coat coated with ether worn over it. 4 ether bullet pistols, 8 extra bullets, and 1 sniper rifle behind my back. After packing some other explosives, I stopped before reaching the weight limit. I picked up an ether blade, the main weapon of hunters, and pressed the release button. A white metal's body popped out and became about 120 cm long. When the energy is activated, a blue laser coats the edge. Skink. Who? I sighed, looking at the blue light of the ether blade for a long time. Hunters kill monsters using ether, an energy extracted from the heart of a monster. And now with that energy, I'm going to kill people. I can't believe I have to fight with this kind of equipment. As I always wore a military uniform with reliable equipment, I could only sigh when I saw the condition of my current equipment that fell short. Moreover, the touch of the blade is unfamiliar. The last time I fought was already half a year ago. Tigers don't forget how to hunt, but I am still nervous. I wish I could get a blaster cannon. I can't help it. First of all, nobody would be satisfied if they had a taste of the best equipment. I am ready. Traveling to Irajan Empire, the world of the level 33 protagonist Translator. 10, 9, 8. Watching the countdown, I took a deep breath. The other person is the protagonist. A creature blessed by the world. I can only trust that this client will match me against a protagonist who I can hunt successfully with my ability. 2, 1, 0. With the message travel complete, a thunderbolt-like sound hit my ear. The next moment, the world fell apart. You've become a challenger in the Irajan tournament. Wow. Cheers came from all sides. Wait, what? Quickly taking a combat stance, I stepped back slightly and looked around. A large space that looked like the Colosseums on Earth. Tens of thousands of spectators were looking down at me, or this place. Oh my, this opponent's entrance was a bit extreme. A lightning bolt struck down. How did you do that? Looking straight ahead, a pretty boy with dark skin was smiling at me. He was shorter than I was, but he was so muscular that I didn't think he was weak at all. And floating on his head, what's that hashtags? Hashtag wins world best sword. Hashtag protagonist. Hashtag good riddance. Hashtag second rebirth. Hashtag perfectilent. I was reading it carefully while the other person looked bored. You don't look so strong for such a brilliant entrance. Name. Oh, what am I supposed to say? It's a long story. You finally answered. You may not know, but my name is Jillitender. Immediately after, someone's commentary rang from somewhere. Ah, what a splendid entrance this challenger had made. A new face, the first challenger to appear today. The name is UCO Dam. Will he be able to beat the champion Jillitender, who has achieved 30 consecutive victories? If not, will it be Jillitender's easy victory again? Jillitender grinned and pointed his sword at me. It doesn't matter what you do, even if you take a pill, poison, or threaten my family, or persuade me with your identity. Try and beat me somehow. Soon he approached me with a light kick and spoke. If that is possible. Skink. As soon as the ether barrier was activated, 20% of the energy was torn off in an instant from the severe impact. Ether armors could withstand a strike from a moderate monster at mid-range, but this was bareful one cut. I took out the ether blade, quickly wielded it with the blue energy coating, and stepped back 3 steps. What is that magic barrier? Is that a magic blade in your hand? Unlike before when he was laughing hard, Jillitender now looked strangely taken back. I fixed my posture from the impact, which seemed to have caused some internal injuries, and spoke. It's an ether blade, you son of a bitch. He lowered his posture to prepare for an attack, but was puzzled as soon as he saw me running. What is this, using a technique that would only appear in legends? That's unsightly. Shwiwa. The air from the frictional force of the ether blade was torn with a swing, but he was already by my side kicking me. Only after rolling on the floor 2 or 3 times did I realize that I was not his match without a gun. I couldn't tell at a glance because he wasn't wearing anything, but at that level, it has to be at least in a rank level of physical enhancement. Skink. I thought he was definitely standing in front of my eyes, but Jillitender kept disappearing from my sight. I've never witnessed anything like this in my life. I was thinking how I could make use of this without knowing where he was. I am a veteran myself, and a veteran who has survived much worse situations by tearing down all the strong. As I hurriedly rolled a grenade under my feet forward, I tried to stab the person who turned behind me, but only to stab the air as expected. Beep beep boom. As soon as the ether grenade exploded, I took a pistol from my waist and fired it at him. Each bullet was my lifeblood, but now is not the time to save. Ping 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 ping. Jillitender, who lifted his iron sword and blocked all the bullets despite his bad posture, tried to close the distance again. Wherever he was running, a spark ignited on the floor. Pashi. Damn it, is he a wizard? Even an elephant would faint at once, but he only flinched for a moment and soon gave up that plan. Yup. Then, like a miracle, the protagonist Jillitender has gained the skill lightning resistance F. Gaining a skill on the spot. Fuck, does that make any sense? Skills and superpowers were things I never got in my life. But there was no time to think about it because he came at me again. However, now I realized how to deal with Jillitender. The previous approach was useless, so after retrieving the ether blade, I pulled out my sniper rifle. It was regrettable that I couldn't bring an assault rifle, but I had to be satisfied with this for now. Holding my breath and aiming at the person who was running sideways. It was a crazy speed that easily surpassed a cheetah, but I have also hunted monsters who ran this fast. One shot seemed to hit his abdomen, but he deflected it again with his iron sword. Damn, what the hell is that iron sword made of? He was reeling from the shock. I didn't think he would be able to deflect it. Damn, ether sniper rifles are good, but the flaw is that it takes a long time to reload. No, now that I see it, something was creeping up on Jillitender's iron sword. It looked similar to my ether blade, but somehow different. Still, I was used to seeing chi because it is something that anyone on Earth with superpowers can use. There was no time to load the next shot, so I released about 15 cm of energy from the rifle and swung it to my right. And just in time, it clashed with Gillightender's sword, who was beside me. Then we both fell back. Ding! This. When his sword was scratched, Gillightender opened his eyes in surprise. What the hell is that? Mana doesn't give off that hideous energy. You don't need to know. It's strange, it's not magic, it's using some strange techniques. Where the hell did you come from? I came to kill you. You don't have to struggle. In the meantime, he was zigzagging up to me, stepping sideways. I should get ready to deal with it. If I give him a chance, Gillightender will catch me. After another hit, the remaining ether was at 60%. If I allow at least 3 more hits, he'll really die. With a quick dash, a small mine was set up within reach of his feet. Gillightender didn't know what it was, but he retreated without stepping on it when he sensed it was roughly dangerous. It was enough to not step on it. I took out another pistol and shot a few times, but that madman dodged or deflected the bullets like it was nothing. Yeah, it can be avoided. It was something that even the superhumans of Earth could do. However, even a rank superpowers cannot do the act of hitting each bullet. Obviously, his strength is barely enough to be C rank, let alone a rank. But his control was so overwhelming. Something that doesn't exist on Earth, a very unusual form of swordsmanship past its limits, existed in him. Boom boom. Another clash. He tried to hit my neck with the sword that quickly pulled away after I activated the Aether shield to its fullest extent, but this time it was a close call. I saw Gillightender's wry smile as he noticed that the energy was rapidly shrinking. Ha, well, I don't care, in the end you will die to me, you were a pretty interesting guy. Boom. The energy blade was released at this moment, and they separated by a step. Gillightender, who had backed into a corner again, began to dance. Yes, I could only explain that it was really a dance. The tip of the sword seemed to fall, then went up again, and then cut forward as if it were poking in. Crazy. I've never seen anything like that in my life. No hunter could do that. That is real swordsmanship, unknown to modern people. Remaining ether 7%. I quickly activated the ether shield on my wrist because I thought I was really going to die if this kept up. Clink clink. Kyuk. A round energy shield with a radius of about 30 cm was broken at immediately, but it blocked one hit of the sword at least. At the same time, I kicked him in the chest and unclipped a grenade. Duck. What? It was a trick to push him away and blow him up, but he got closer as if he wouldn't be pushed aside by my fragile kick. Stop with the petty tricks. Boom. In the end, we were swept away by the energy explosion. My ether's frequency had already been set, so my equipment does not harm me. Coughing in vain, Gillightender was bleeding from his mouth. He seemed to have thought of attacking my weak points, but anyone who's a little smart can do that much. Wouldn't they have prepared this much if they were beaten once or twice? Damn it. Gillightender screamed and stepped back, and at that moment I pressed a button. Whoosh. Immediately after, a huge pillar of fire rose from under Gillightenders' feet. The fireball, made of pure ether, was more powerful than ordinary fire. Son of a bitch, you can't withstand fire, can you? I breathed heavily and stepped back slowly. Not even superhumans who have an enhanced body can withstand that fireball. It was the most expensive equipment I had. But the other person is the protagonist. I didn't know the full meaning until now. The protagonist, Gillightender, is using his indomitable will to not fall against the extreme flames. The protagonist, Gillightender, gains the skill Fire Resistance D. As the flames cleared, Gillightender walked out. There was soot everywhere, but he didn't seem fazed by such things. Oh, awesome. Haha, I didn't know, I guess I can survive a fireball, now what else do you? However, I was already 20 steps back. Resistant, let's say that's the case. Lying down on the floor, I pressed down on a detonator. But you're not immune to a M18E17 Claymore mine, are you? What? Immediately an explosion followed. Boom. Everything in front of me turned to ashes. After a brief silence, "Why?" Cheers erupted from all sides. Oh my god, what the hell is going on? The 30 consecutive wins champion, the absolute invincible man, a new champion has been crowned by beating Translator. Will he be chosen by the Empire? Such noise was somehow good. I was overwhelmed by the messages that popped in my head. You've successfully hunted a level 33 protagonist. Your level has risen by 2. Mission completed, returning to your original world. The noise around me died and I was back in my studio apartment laying down. Nevertheless, the messages were still steadily popping up. 330 days of lifespan will be paid. Only. Remaining lifespan, 330 days, 15 hours, 21 minutes. You can randomly absorb one of their talents or skills. Do you wish to absorb it? Somehow in a blurry trance, I just relied on instinct to open my mouth. I don't know, just do it. Then I heard something spinning. Another message soon popped into my head. Translator's talent swordsmanship rank A+ has been absorbed. Chapter 3. It's a miracle. I nodded calmly at the doctor's words. The unidentified tumor that was straining your heart has disappeared as if it was never there, said the doctor excitedly while fixing his glasses. There may be hope now if we continue with the operation, perhaps a few more. No thanks. I already knew surgery on my heart is no use. No, it might be useful, but what would that mean? Remaining lifespan, 329 days, 20 hours, 37 minutes. I already know of a better way. Then good luck. I quickly left the hospital and breathed in the cold air. I tried to get some fresh air, but the air in the city was dirty. Still, I felt good. My heart was beating like it was free. At first, I thought it was a dream. A dream of being summoned to a strange world and dueling a powerful gladiator called the Protagonist. However, it wasn't a dream. Soon after waking up, laying in my room were half-broken equipment like my body. A refreshing feeling welled up inside of me before I could even think about how much all of this would cost. No matter how much I ran, no matter how much I exercised, my heart no longer hurts. No, it's better to say that I am in better shape than before. Your lifespan has been extended and your condition has stopped. When your life ends, your condition will proceed. The words of the woman I call client made me calm down. For now, I can only live another year. However, it was the end. The very fact that my abilities have risen. I couldn't help but admire the status window, which was shown like a game. Modern science has long been quantified, but even that was not as detailed. There was something that stood out: level 19. According to the client's explanation, level is a kind of threshold that human beings can reach. All abilities cannot be higher than the level. On the contrary, your level is your limit. You can raise your level and increase the limit of your abilities by hunting protagonists. In other words, I was only level 17 before hunting Translator, so I've increased my limit by 2. Maybe I'm stronger than when I was at my prime. What does level 19 mean? A typical adult male is level 10, while an average gold medalist is between level 15 and 16 in past Olympic competitions. If that's the case, doesn't it mean my past self was the peak normal humans could reach? I can't believe I'm F rank. The existence of superpowers was really too great. A swordsmanship talent. Having lived my whole life without any good talents, I now had one. It's swordsmanship too. Somehow my heart felt full. However, the client had mentioned that I did not meet the physical requirements to fully absorb Translator's own swordsmanship, but it didn't matter. The fact that I have a good talent now is all that matters. What happened to the guy I killed? Permanent death. Now that world's law of causality will go back to normal. Protagonists are the one who forces the law of causality to give them all the blessings of their world. That's how the client once described how worlds come to be ruined. Check the sins Translator had committed: murder, intimidation, blackmail, extortion, assault, and... I had a feeling, but this was no joke. Of course, not every protagonist harms their world. But most protagonists are twisting the cause and effect, and many worlds are being destroyed in the process. That gave me a good excuse. If I am going to kill anyway, wouldn't killing the bad guys make me feel less guilty? I wanted to receive the next mission right away, but I had something else to do before then. First, I had to get new equipment. This battle had damaged most of my equipment, and it'll take quite a while to repair it. In the meantime, there were only a few things to do. Check the newly acquired A+ talent and train my physical strength that has regressed due to my health the last few months. You're a F rank now, but once you fully develop this talent, you will become stronger than you can possibly imagine. And from C rank, you will be in the realm of geniuses, as you call it. I was also told that I was a genius when it came to shooting. Of course, shooting was useful, but if you think it was enough in the hunter industry, it wasn't. Guns didn't do much good compared to superpowers. But swordsmanship is different. The Ether Blade was a weapon that could certainly hurt monsters like superpowers could, and it was the best match for hunters with strong abilities. I was also just a normal human, so I had to use Ether Blades even though it was close range. If this swordsmanship is real. I found a gym with an old sign that reads Jumgang Gym. Since my 3rd year of hunting, this was the place I visited, and it was also a place where many aspiring hunters would bleed and sweat. It was a place where many able-bodied people visited because the director developed a method to control the physique very skillfully, but few people came here now because the method had become common. It was no wonder. Even though the director was better at training his body than anyone else, his ability was nothing more than C rank. Although it's true that it's good enough, there were many gyms run by retired strong rank hunters now, so there's no need to visit here. How is that Siadam? The gym was full of sweaty, muscular men, and one of them, a trainer with a big body, recognized and approached me. You just got out of the hospital. Yes. Are you feeling better than last time back? Then you almost were in a terrible condition. This gym trainer used to visit me at times with the director, but they remembered me almost dying, so it was a surprise to him that I was here. It's okay, I'm almost all better. It's not better, but it was similar. What about the director? There's a trainee in the director's office at the moment. Would you like to go see? Trainee. Aspiring hunters used to be called trainees. I am sorry to say this, but it's interesting that there are still people who would look for Director Kim. Then let's go. As I knocked on the director's office, I heard a familiar voice. Entering the room, I saw the bald head of Director Kim and a young European girl with gorgeous blonde hair drinking instant coffee from a paper cup. Ah, you Siadam, you're already out of the hospital. Why didn't you tell me? I just left yesterday. Well, leaving the hospital doesn't have to be dramatic. It wouldn't have been dramatic if I didn't tell anyone in the first place. This girl. You've probably heard of it, the Costantini family in Italy, famous for their swordsmanship. Yes, I've heard of it. She's the eldest daughter, her name. Celeste Costantini. Celeste, I was only a little surprised when I heard the familiar name. Are you Mr. Salvatore Costantini's daughter? Yes, you know him. I do. Although the Italian hunter Salvatore was famous for being S rank at the time, I had a good impression of him because he treated me well as a F rank. You know, I taught him a couple of physique techniques back in the old days. After learning from me, he said he gained enlightenment, so he sent his daughter on something like a field trip this time. Then he shrugged and let out a sigh. That's why she's staying here for a couple of months. To be honest, there's nothing to teach. What? You little girl is a genius. You're A17 now, but already have the strength of D rank as well as a great physique. That's crazy. D rank at the age of less than 20. There have been occasional cases like this. They were called geniuses. To be honest, I had no choice but to be amazed. Still, you're too polite. When I taught you something, you would nod and learn earnestly. I even let you fight others. But honestly, you know what I mean. Maybe you already know there's nothing more to learn here, even though you haven't said anything. Well, certainly. The Costantini family would have already seen a rank abilities and various swordsmanship masters within the family. D-rank trainers and C-rank directors were fine as a trial of sorts, but it would not benefit them if they were weaker than what they had experienced at home. Salvatore seemed to have sent Celeste to South Korea with Director Kim's method in mind, but many things have changed from then to now. She had nothing to gain here. That's why Celeste is already showing a not interested expression with everything that's going on in Korea. It's only been a week, who Tilda. I can't just renegade on your father Costantina's request, so I guess I will have to find something for you to do. Honestly, it's very troublesome. After hearing Director Kim's words, I felt very sorry for him, but what can I do? By any chance are you an active hunter? Celeste asked me in Italian and Director Kim tried to translate it, but I could also speak simple conversations in Italian. I am UC Autumn, a F rank who works as a hunter. A F rank ordinary hunter. Yes. Somehow the bluntness was like having a bucket of cold water poured on me. She really didn't seem to be interested in anything here. I asked the director, "Director, where's my favorite baby sword?" "Baby, your wooden sword. I always thought it was strange, but why do you call the wooden sword your baby?" "Forget the sword, why are you having such lewd thoughts?" "Strange bastard." The director took out a wooden sword that I used to use. I haven't used it for more than 10 years, but it feels the same as then. I unwittingly held the handle of the wooden sword in the same position as my Etha blade, and at that moment I felt goosebumps. How have I been holding it like this all this time? The feel of the wooden sword was strange. No, it had been the same every time I held a sword. Only now did I realize. The way I've been fighting so far was so shitty. Slowly I aimed the wooden sword into the air, and the trajectory of the sword was clearly visible to my eyes. How to swing and kill an enemy for sure. Which part I can cut neatly, I wondered. It was a perfect trajectory that gave me goosebumps all over. Crazy, what is this? The countless battles I've been through in my life came to mind and disappeared. The numerous enemies who had driven me to the brink of death were no match for this sword. A force so overwhelming and perfect. This wasn't a ranked talent, the threshold of geniuses that can pave the path towards victory. I can see that road. How to effectively subdue an opponent. How to use less effort, cut in and swing. How to never lose. Is there a problem? No, my favorite sword feels lighter. More than that, director, it's been a long time since I had a match. I suddenly stopped talking and looked at Celeste. No matter how much I have gained in swordsmanship, I can't win against C rank. Maybe it's hard to even test this talent. But what if I am against a hunter trainee with D rank strength? If she comes from a family that is well versed in swordsmanship, maybe I can test this out. Miss Celeste, you look pretty bored, so would you like to spar with me? Director Kim stopped me when he saw her looking somewhat troubled. What is it, you don't feel well, do you? So I have to exercise, and this will be my warm-up. But even so, I didn't tell anyone close to me that I had a heart problem. It's ironic. Only the guild master, who is not close to me, was aware that I am dying. The director with a cautious look spoke. That child has the strength of D rank. I understood what the director meant. It was a similar reason Celeste was not happy with my offer. Maybe if we spar here, I will surely lose. But I was a 15-year veteran, and it was not insignificant. Celeste slowly opened her mouth and with a tone that was completely indifferent to our confrontation spoke. I've faced 3 10-year veterans that are ordinary hunters and swordsmen in my family. Oh my. I think I know all of them. Obviously their swordsmanship were excellent, I learned a lot, but... So as if she was telling me to stop. The moment I awakened an E-rank physique, they were no match for me, all 3 of them. Said Celeste. That's true. The moment you awaken an E-rank physique, you enter the realm of the superhuman, beyond normal humans. In other words, no matter how much F-rank hunters struggle, it wasn't even a fight. She was even close to awakening to the D rank. So she was telling me to stop thinking about this meaningless spar because I would not be her match. However, she just looks harmless to me now. By the way, did you know? Only. The hunter Salvatore Costantini, who once rocked the world with a single sword, was recently promoted to SS rank. And is one of 37 such people in the world. How much pride does such a child have in her family and father? I've won a one-on-one fight with your father. Namely, I had this idea. Fine, I've always wanted to see the skills of another veteran hunter. It was enough of a provocation to make her hold a wooden sword. Chapter 4. He quickly changed into his sportswear and settled down in the stadium. Other aspiring athletes who were exercising gathered with interest. This is Celeste's first battle since her last battle with the director, right? Yep, it was great. She fought quite well against the director. By the way, you said her opponent was a veteran hunter. It's an ordinary person with no superpowers. I don't know if he's going to be her opponent. Ordinary hunters aren't strong, are they? Their chatter made Director Kim gulped. Then he looked towards Yu Xiaodam holding his 11,001 sword and felt something was different. This guy suddenly provoked her. His personality has changed a little after coming back from the hospital. Director Kim also heard the provocations against Celeste because he is fluent in Italian. I defeated your father. And the words were true. To a certain extent. 99 rounds, 99 loses. When they sparred, Xiaodam was always defeated by Salvator. It was only natural. How can ordinary people win in a fight using just a single wooden sword? However, in their last spar they fought with 100% of their equipment and superpowers. Yu Xiaodam defeated Salvator. I am curious about the outcome of this confrontation. Yu Xiaodam is different from other ordinary hunters. He was a hunter who could make better use of hunting items than anyone else in the world, and at the same time was the pinnacle of ordinary hunter. However, the use of tools was significant in this battle. Anyone in this position knows it. The reason ordinary hunters were able to survive in the hunter industry was not because they were good at fighting, but because they were good at hunting. To put it simply, the battle between the veteran ordinary hunter and the super-skilled aspirant can be thought of as Home Alone. Kevin was able to defeat the adults by using various tools in the house, but if he was caught by the burglars, he would easily be incapacitated. Yu Xiaodam's current situation was similar to Kevin's. A Kevin without tools. Are you ready? Yes. As soon as the words fell, everyone quieted because they could feel the sharpness of Celeste, whose spirit had suddenly changed. A battle between a hound and a beast's cub who has lived on the battlefield all his life. Who? Yu Xiaodam breathed out deeply. I felt as if the world had slowed down. Dad. Yu Xiaodam got into position. Then Celeste, with a blank expression, brandished her sword. Rather than trade blows with her, he will find a gap to attack. In a way, it was too easy to read the thoughts of a veteran hunter. However, I was confident because Celeste had beaten 3 ordinary hunters with swordsmanship. Skika. Looking at the trajectory of the sword, which swung quite sharply, Celeste avoided with just a slight twist of her body. The swordsmanship of superhumans was different from the swordsmanship of the old days. They avoid inevitable attacks with superhuman reflexes and movements, and strike with unstoppable force. She twisted her wrists slightly and aimed towards Xiaodam. After dodging to the side, he swung his sword from inside his hand as if he was a spinning electric fan and aimed for Celeste's head. At the moment, there was an opening, as if the sword had been bent. Celeste lowered her head in a hurry with a surprised look, but she had already entered the range of Xiaodam. Xiaodam, who was thrusting the sword into the neck of the retreating Celeste, stopped. The result was too overwhelming. Celeste's eyes opened wide. You must be feeling better now, right? Yes. Celeste's eyes suddenly changed. As if a storm was brewing, Celeste, whose spirits had changed again, rushed at Xiaodam wielding her sword. There's no proper rule, but this stance was used to deal with monsters and not humans. Obviously, Celeste was stronger and faster. In addition, unlike Xiaodam, who has never learned swordsmanship professionally, she wholeheartedly trained her family's swordsmanship from an early age. But Celeste's attacks didn't reach Xiaodam a single time. The trajectory of all her swings were grasped at a glance like a picture in the eyes of Yu Xiaodam. The situation had already been predicted 2 steps before she even wielded the sword, and it was so clear that it was beyond the 3rd step and what the consequences would be in the 4th step. In his mind, the swordsmanship of Gillitender was dancing. He couldn't copy it perfectly just by looking at it once. But just knowing it and understanding even 1% or 0.01% was fine. The fact that he simply recognizes that world swordsmanship, which is different from modern times, using his swordsmanship talent, showed the power of swordsmanship rank A+. Audium is obviously weak. No matter how hard ordinary people trained without mana, the limit of the body was clear. I am sure he'll catch him. However, Celeste couldn't catch Sedum. Like a hairway, like a tease. Her sword couldn't reach Sodom even as it grazed his sword and was an inch away. No way how. The other person is just an ordinary human. And she is a person of the D rank. If she set her mind to it, she could travel 50 meters in less than 3 seconds. Despite the obvious difference in abilities, it was not possible to win. Clearly there has to be an answer. For Celeste, fighting was a series of multiple choice questions, choosing the correct answer. Question 1. Choose the best answer to defeat your opponent. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. She just chooses one of those options and wins. That's what is known as a genius. But I don't see an answer. No choice was the answer. It was as if she was presented a multiple choice question with subjective answers. Don't tell me this guy is really. When she thought that far, she bit her lips. In the end, she decided to use her trump card. If it was a battle of strength, it'll definitely win. Celeste's swings began to contain a heavy and powerful force. It seemed like she was trying to bait a battle of strength, but Audium, who has been hunting for 15 years, would he fall for it? The thrusting sword was pushed lightly to the side and quickly fell to the side of Celeste before Audium aimed at her neck. After a brief silence, the aspiring athletes who were watching the battle erupted. Crazy. What the hell? Was he an ordinary human? No, obviously the movement is almost normal. It's similar to me, but I don't think it's E rank. So he beat a D rank with pure swordsmanship head-on. No matter how experienced he is, does that make sense? Does it make sense? Of course not. Director Kim knows to some extent the abilities of Audium. He really had no talent for swordsmanship. It was no exaggeration to say that he was a pyrotechnician, and not even good with an ether blade. What the hell happened to him while he was in the hospital? Celeste also looked at Audium with a puzzled look on her face. This all started with an exchange that she thought was just baseless provocation. But she could feel it. Dismissing the remark as mere provocation, this man's swordsmanship was too special. After the battle with Celeste, I went to the gym every day to train my stamina. Like a miracle, the talent swordsmanship rank A+ that I acquired was much more surprising to me than I originally thought. There is no one who does not know the word enlightenment. However, how many people have experienced it? To be honest, I've rarely experienced it in my entire life. Even that was triggered in extreme situations where I could die if I didn't kill. However, after gaining the talent of swordsmanship, it was possible to gain enlightenment whenever I did the act of simply holding a sword. Have you ever experienced this thrilling feeling in your life? Only those who were one with the sword could go on training without even realizing their muscles were in pain. The pace of my swordsmanship's growth was so enormous that just swinging, stabbing, and cutting, I felt a sense of accomplishment. It wasn't just me that changed. Celeste, who used to wield a sword while showing an indifference to everything else, also started to annoy me. What is it this time? Let's spar. After a moment of thought, I replied. It's troublesome. Yes. Then she walked to a corner with her shoulders drooped. Somewhat feeling sorry for her, I called her back. Wait, I'll spar with you after I am done. Yes, replied Celeste with a bright smile. Then, after 10 minutes of sparring lightly, I defeated her. It's already been a month. She who timidly and gently asked me every day for a spar was defeated easily. At first I thought she wanted to spar because she couldn't accept defeat. But on the third day I realized something. It was a very fine difference that I could sense because I had the talent swordsmanship rank A+. She was learning swordsmanship from me. Of course I can't handle the sword properly either, but she remembered the sword dance I had unfolded. She was trying to imitate it and somehow actually made it work. It was truly a crazy talent. I also thought her challenge was not so bad. It was more helpful to check my progress than to wield a sword in the air randomly. We could test each other on a variety of skills. Besides, Celeste wasn't just getting beaten up. After every defeat, she would exclaim "ah" and went to a corner to meditate, and every time there would be a tremendous spirit fluctuation. She must have learned something. Director Kim burst into laughter when he saw me and her sparring. "You're teaching better than I am, aren't you? That little girl is suddenly so enthusiastic. Why don't you take care of it? If you pay me, I'll try teaching her. I don't think it'll be bad. By the way, Siadam, are you going to keep hunting?" "I should. I was with the guild Lost Day for 12 years. However, the very day I was sentenced to a short life, I was kicked out of the guild. Just because they didn't want to keep a hunter who was no longer useful. The guild he won't accept you again. Why weren't you going to be back on track once you were discharged? The director doesn't know the state my heart was in. Not only that, most don't know. It was because I didn't say. I haven't even told him about my discharge. If he asks, I won't accept it. What would an F-rank hunter even do there? Even when I was a member of Lost Day, I had no choice but to collect as many hunting requests as possible with a business card showing my 15 years seniority. This was a real dilemma. If F-rank hunters invest less money on equipment and hunt monsters, they would have to settle for lower-level monsters. If I want to catch higher-level monsters, I have to spend a lot of money on equipment. In the end, no matter how good a F-rank hunter's performance was, they made little profit. So I was half deserted from the guild, who was seen as useless to management. I was forced to work because I didn't force myself out. However, all I could do was use a sword, so I had to hunt to make ends meet. That's how it was. But from now on it will be different. Because I became a hunter who hunts very special beings. Sitting in the middle of the studio apartment with my back turned, I took a deep breath. An intangible energy rose in the body. This is mana. No, not Earth's mana, but the one from the parallel world. All of Earth's hunters used mana, and to get them they had to absorb ethers from hunting monsters into their bodies. However, since even this required talent, ordinary humans could not even absorb 1% of ether into their body, and instead it dissipated into nature. Geniuses, on the other hand, could absorb 100% of such ethers. I was at the level of an ordinary human, and there was only about 1% of ether in my body. However, it is now possible to absorb something similar to ether, and perhaps even more mysterious natural energy. At best I wielded and swung swords, but I couldn't accumulate mana in my body. It was foreign to me, and I didn't know the principles behind it. Even now, I couldn't collect a lot of energy. It felt like I was piling up sand called mana with chopsticks, and it was impossible to hold it. I've gained a lot of stamina. Apparently, I had suffered considerable muscle atrophy during my stay in the hospital. My level was 19, but my ability level seems to have dropped considerably. Restoring those muscles at the same time, combined with good abilities, will enable me to improve even if I couldn't reach my limit. I can't hope to reach the limit in just a month. It'd need at least a few months of exercise to be able to rebuild my muscle strength. But this is enough. The equipment repair and preparation was finished, and unlike before, it has been efficiently prepared to accurately weigh 20 kg. A shotgun, a rifle, and an ether blade that has been repaired. I took a deep breath after rearranging the other ammunition. I am almost ready for my next mission. You'll like to take another mission. Do you want to check your list of missions? I could choose. Well, hunters got their own mission to choose from. It's nothing strange. Show a list of targets with more than 15% chance of success in hunting. Shortly, countless texts printed out in front of me. I gave a puzzled look. What is all this? First, Dad turned out to be the best gigolo. Hashtag modern. Hashtag return. Hashtag gigolo. Hashtag teen. Hashtag harem. Hashtag slice of life. Second, I opened a store in the Joseon period. Hashtag alternative history. Hashtag reincarnation. Hashtag shop. Hashtag monopoly. Hashtag military. Third, a princess who came back wants to live peacefully. Hashtag romance fantasy. Hashtag return. Hashtag indifferent. Hashtag relaxing. Hashtag obsessed ML. Hashtag SSS class lucky hunter survives. Hashtag fusion fantasy. Hashtag lucky. Hashtag growth. Hashtag teen. Hashtag dimensioning. As I looked at these like it was some sort of joke, the client spoke. I summarized the information according to the current norm. This is the norm. Everyone who uses SNS is the norm. That's a little harsh. I am the only one who doesn't use SNS, but isn't that too much? Then when I saw something strange, I opened my eyes wide. What is this? The level of Protagonist Hunter is low, so information is not available. Oh come on, you can at least tell me the plot. Body must be directly transported, so as not to interfere with the plot. Fair enough, still a little summary would help. Tag a text to check the level of the protagonist. I tagged the text as she told me to, and soon my face crumpled. Crazy. All of them were high-level protagonists. I think a level 33 protagonist is the most I can handle. Even the modern stuff that looked quite interesting, the level of the protagonist was high enough to make a PSH noise comes out of my mouth. After searching through the list for a long time, I found a protagonist who I could deal with. I am one with the sword. Hashtag fantasy. Hashtag eccentric. Hashtag growth. Hashtag merciless. It was a protagonist related to the sword. Only, wouldn't it be better to have a sword-related talent if I am going to hunt? Moreover, the title alone made me feel as if the main character would live and die by the sword. Yes. Wouldn't it be possible that the talent sword intent, which is commonly seen in martial arts, would come from this I am one with the sword? If I'm lucky, I might absorb that talent. Okay, I've decided on this. Send me right now. Traveling to the land of Kevlin, the world of the level 40 protagonist, Holy Sword Beret. Wait, why is it this protagonist? Chapter 5. 10. 9. 8. Travel completed. After the world slowly collapsed and reconstructed, I found myself standing in front of a huge temple. You became an adventurer who came to Beret Temple. Suddenly, I heard loud noises around me. Looking around, a medieval European-style city came into view. Beautiful streets made of bricks, lively people, towering walls, and strange flying objects. On a flying carpet, people were lying down and enjoying the view, and from a crystal ball floating in the air came the sound of something. Crazy. A whole new world. Civilization on a different level. This was my first reaction. Turning his head with a puzzled look, he saw a man riding a horseless carriage with a blue crystal. Instinctively moving aside, the carriage passed by. What are you doing standing in the middle of the road? The carriage quickly disappeared. Is it a festival? Firecrackers and pollen were flying everywhere, but I don't know what the festival was for. Like last time, how come I can understand what people are saying? Is the effect from the skill Protagonist Hunter. Linguist B grant you the ability to understand the language of the other worlds, and Terra Physique S grant your body the ability to adapt to the strange ecosystems. What? An S-rank skill. With my mouth agape, I couldn't help but think it was absurd. All my life I've been hopping to get at least one E-rank power, but now that I had a S-rank and B-rank skill, I didn't feel much excitement. By the way, where is the protagonist? Last time, the protagonist was right in front of me. To kill the protagonist, you must ride the river of fate. The plot of the protagonist can't be suddenly interrupted, can it? You became a character in the plot and is the only existence that can break the plot. Oh ho. Well, I think I'll be dumbfounded if a cartoon character I was watching dies of a heart attack. Every protagonist must have a reason to be killed. Previously, I was lucky to be the challenger of a tournament and faced the protagonist right away, but this time I just seem to have become an adventurer. Don't you have a protagonist location finder app or something? No. Useless fellow. I had no choice but to find the protagonist myself. Then someone tapped me on the shoulder. When I turned my head, a muscular man was looking at me with strange eyes. I am Achillean, a temple guard. There were reports of a suspicious man loitering around here, so I came to check. Are you an adventurer? I guess. Looks like you're not from here judging by your outfit, but try not to wander around the temple. Why? The sacred emperor ceremony is currently underway. To elect the next emperor, numerous warriors are now challenging the temple. Oh wow. It was quite an interesting plot. I am an adventurer, so I don't know much about it. What's this ceremony about? You're a real country bumpkin, living in the empire and not knowing about the sacred emperor ceremony. Then he pointed to the temple. The high temple, which seemed to pierce the sky, was reminiscent of a football stadium. There's a holy sword stuck in there, and a guardian who stands guard at the center. Holy sword. Yes, the holy sword, Beret. He who pulls it out will be crowned emperor of the Kevlan Empire. Oh, this was rather novel. It was a very different method of electing the emperor from what I knew. It doesn't matter who, a nobleman, a slave, a commoner, a merchant, a man, a woman, an old man, an infant, anyone is fine, just come and defeat the guardian. Achillean pointed his finger at the temple. Including this city, the whole world will be within your grasp. Immediately I became a challenger. The ceremony to gain the recognition of the guardian was an event that only took place when the current emperor stepped down. Apparently, it attracted prominent warriors from all over the world. He who pulls out the sword will be crowned emperor. 1,000 years ago, Holy Sword Beret suddenly appeared in this world. It granted whoever unimaginable powers strong enough to make them emperor, and since then its history has been passed down from generation to generation. One of the most known abilities of Beret is its growth. If someone wielded the sword, it would transform into a suitable sword to boost the person's swordsmanship to its fullest potential. I don't know how good it will be, but it was enough to make my mouth water thinking about it. What sin did the protagonist commit? Excessive possession. The protagonist has repeatedly possessed the body of former emperors and used their body until it was tired of them. Now that the current emperor has aged and lost all his powers, the holy sword is also fairly sealed. Oh, a sealed level 40. This was a huge handicap. After observing for the last few days, there weren't as many challengers as I thought. Because the guardian killed the challengers who failed without mercy. Hyuk, please spare. Correct. A challenger's neck broke and he flew away. I gulped, looking at the back of the guardian returning to its place immediately. Ah, what kind of dregs was this challenger? Right, if you want to kill yourself, you should go somewhere else. I was wondering if there was going to be a good show. The guardian was nearly 5 meters tall and covered in silver armor. It was a kind of golem, which is said to be virtually impossible to neutralize because the nucleus is located deep in the armor. It may be possible to subdue it if a combination of a very good mage and an excellent warrior were formed. However, the challenge was impossible because it had to be done alone. Mages are weak in a head-on fight, and warriors cannot damage the guardian's armor because they couldn't use magic. Mage. Magic seems to exist in this world. While staying here for a few days, I watched the challengers sitting in the stands amazingly. More than 100,000 seats were occupied, and most of them were very powerful. In terms of hunter rank, the average was between B and A. Occasionally, a warrior equivalent to S rank came, but it was rare. To be honest, they didn't have super strong abilities. I thought the S ranks on Earth were stronger. However, the ability was not important. It was control. The warriors, who used a similar technique to the rigid body method from Earth, knew how to push their bodies to the limit. And they also used their weapons in a very unique way that is not seen on modern Earth. Brandishing their swords like the blossoming of flowers, the falling of autumn leaves, and the storm of winter. It is not just my imagination or description. Such fantasies really appeared and disappeared. The swordmanships of modern Earth were so rugged that everyone just floats around as if they were dancing, fluttering like butterflies, wielding swords loosely and posturing. And what about magic? As if they were a multi-talented person who could not exist on Earth, they freely used fire, water, ice, wind, and other magic. They had extreme control over mana to protect their body without ethos shields while buffing themselves and debuffing the target. If it was Earth, it would take 3 to 5 superhumans to do what mages can do here by themselves. It's really crazy. All the hunting I've seen on Earth now seems comical. Earthlings had better abilities than the people of this world, but they only knew how to swing it senselessly and never understood how to control it. Magic. I really want to learn it. Sadly, although I could understand the language of this world, I couldn't read the letters. Also, it's impossible to pick up items here and bring it back, so I can't even steal a magic book. And when I asked around, I found out it would take 20 to 30 years for someone of my intelligence to become a mage at that level. I couldn't learn magic here because I only had a year left. But there will be plenty of opportunities. Let's not be impatient. This world view and existence of magic was developed and thriving. Someday I might be able to come back here, and if I am lucky, I might be able to learn some magic. Knowing the merits of magic, I didn't want to give up. But for now, I should focus on killing the protagonist. I wanted to shoot the holy sword with a sniper rifle right here, but unfortunately there was a layer of translucent mana between the stands and the stadium, and I was afraid of the aftershock. Perhaps my poor equipment won't even penetrate it. But it's no problem. 1 week. The amount of time I spent watching the duel between the challengers and the Guardian. I've completed all preparations. Why? Cheers came from the stands as UC Autumn entered the arena. The Emperor was also sitting and staring at the arena with an expressionless face, but UC Autumn didn't care about them at all. Who's that guy? I don't know, looks like an adventurer. That's a peculiar outfit. As people began to chatter, the Guardian came out to meet the challenger. Boom boom. Thud. The sound the Guardian's armor made when it moved and the sound of Seatum unloading his gun produced a symphony of metal. It was quite a pleasant sound to Seatum, who loves tools. Zwish. The Guardian aimed its greatsword forward. A mindless body with tremendous destructive force. A monster with an agile body. Facing it, Seatum took a deep breath and asked, Guardian, I can only pull out the holy sword that is stuck behind you once you're defeated. Yes. What happens if I try to pull out the holy sword without defeating you? It won't budge. A simple exchange to ask questions is one of the few things a challenger is allowed to do. No one has ever asked such questions, so there were jeers from the stands. Why would you ask such a question? Where is your honor? Ignoring the jeers, Seatum rushed toward the Guardian. Jig jig. The shotgun was loaded, and at the same time the distance from the Guardian was narrowed. Seatum fired a shot at its groin. Quang! The reaction caused a small shock which knocked Seatum backwards. Immediately after, Seatum avoided the Guardian's greatsword swinging down and threw a black ball from his pocket. It quickly separated into 10 spheres and clung to every part of the Guardian's body. The spheres were magnetized and attracted each other as if to kill it by constriction, but the Guardian wasn't phased and swung its greatsword at him. As expected, this level of agileness. Thung! The Aether shield was gravely damaged when the Guardian's greatsword brushed past the side of Seatum. Obviously the swing was fierce, but Seatum was familiar with the sword thanks to his swordsmanship rank A+ talent. Just by looking at the posture, form, and trajectory of an opponent's sword, he can see where it is headed. Then he can prepare his next move. As he rolled aside to avoid the greatsword, he raised his right hand and pressed a red button. The spheres attached to the Guardian's body exploded simultaneously. Boom boom. Now, he tried to run past the agile Guardian, but it endured the explosion and was rushing towards Seatum first. He did not intend to get hit by it, so he took out 2 Aether shotguns and fired it in succession. Boom boom. Its shoulders flinched and its legs swayed, but the Guardian didn't stop. However, the power of a golem is not infinite. There was a limit to its energy each match. What Seatum is doing is depleting its energy. Using up all the bullets from the shotgun, Seatum threw them to the ground without hesitation. Then he ran to the side, pointing his pistol at the spot where he was standing before. Sparks shot from the pistol and hit the ground. The moment the Guardian walked over it. Poof! The steel tiles melted, flipping the Guardian upside down. What? What the hell is that magic? That man, he's a mage from which school? Quickly find out. The mages went wild. It was a kind of magic they have never seen before. Is it really possible to cast such a devastating spell like that without chanting? The mages stomped their feet. If we could make that mage join our side, the landscape of the mage forces could change dramatically. They wanted to jump into the duel right now and bring that man in, but they couldn't do that because of the barrier. It's like I'm watching a battle of a mage only told in legends. Just as Seadam was amazed by magic, the mages were also thrilled to see science. However, whether he was aware of it or not, Seadam sprinted with all his might. He also did not forget to lay a bean-sized marker on the floor as he ran. Hoot! When the Guardian ran towards the west wall with one limped leg, the marker on the ground exploded after being stepped on. Bang bang! Despite its legs being damaged, it didn't stop. But in the end, it was just a little faster than the average person, so Seadam quickly outran it. Huang! The moment before the greatsword could hit him. Reading its trajectory, he quickly rolled to the side and fired a small blue bomb at the predicted path of the Guardian. Magnetic field. An electromagnetic bomb that's a very powerful magnet, and once it sticks to iron becomes an enormous field of magnetism. Pachichi. When it hit the Guardian's greatsword, the steel floor and the greatsword clung together. When he threw another blue bomb into the Guardian's body, its armor was crushed and its arms and legs crumpled. Gagugu. A possible method to deal with something made of steel. But it was obvious that it wouldn't last long either. It was a ridiculously short amount of time to try and defeat it. What a strong-holding magic. Hearing the nonsense of the mages shouting, Seadam ran with all his might towards the holy sword. What? What is he doing? He's not attacking the Guardian. Doesn't he know he can't pull it out unless he defeats the Guardian? However, the original purpose of Seadam was not to remove the holy sword. From the start, he had no intention of defeating the Guardian, nor was he capable of doing so. He has only one purpose. Hunt the protagonist. Beep beep beep. After installing the E4 composite from his arms, he quickly ran away and widened the distance. The Guardian, who had already escaped from the electromagnetic field, shot towards Seadam. Kaklunk. The Guardian looked at Seadam menacingly. During the sacred duel, what did you do? However, without answering, Seadam pulled out a sniper rifle. The gun, called EK-49, is a monster specialized in long-range attacks, and each bullet is super expensive, but the destructive power of one of its shots was enormous. Slowly aiming it at the Guardian, it continued to look at him because it doesn't know about guns. Maybe it thought it could stop it. Yeah, honestly, even if it's blocked or did hit, it could withstand it. But in the first place, Seadam was not aiming for a Guardian. Jig check. Seadam, who was aiming for the Guardian's head, quickly changed his target and fired at the holy sword. Soon after, the Emperor, feeling something was amiss, jumped out quickly and shouted, "Stop right now." But it's too late. Bang! A tremendous explosion occurred. You've successfully hunted a level 40 protagonist. Your level has risen by 3. The holy sword broke, and at the same time the Emperor screamed. Ah no! He was none other than the Emperor, who was being manipulated by the holy sword. Grab him right now and bring him to me now. When the Emperor, who managed to hold on to the broken string of consciousness, shouted loudly, 100,000 spectators rose from their seats at the same time and began to head for the stage. Only. Meanwhile, Seadam looked up leisurely and made eye contact with the Emperor. At the same time, the resentful eyes trembled. A roulette appeared in his mind. A roulette containing the talents and skills of the holy sword. Soon a message appeared. Barrett's talent, white swordsmanship, rank S, has been absorbed. Raising his middle finger at the Emperor, he spoke. I use the skill well. By the time the enraged warriors arrived at the arena, Seadam had already disappeared like a mist. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.